1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I wasn't staring at that. I actually was staring at what the fuck is that pineapple?
It's a glass.
Yeah, I know it's a glass, but what's in it?
It was coffee.
It was coffee? Where did you go? They give this thing out at Dutch Brothers now?
No,
What is this?
I own this glass.
Oh,
He just said- and I
put
just
this
take it
coffee
there.
in here.
I asked him if they
And
can
brought
use
it.
my own. If I can use
I brought my own
cup.
pineapple. Is that
fill it.
okay?
Can you rinse it out? Can you rinse it out?
clean it a
Thanks.
little bit.
It's had dried coffee for
You're
2
so
weeks.
friendly here at Dutch Brothers.
Okay. Got it? You get it out?
I'm done. I'm done.
There we go.
Okay.
Just turn on your camera.
Hey guys, welcome to Cult Film and Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, we're headed to LA for sex, drugs, and rock and roll because we're talking about Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. So let's start the show. Hey guys, thanks for joining the cult. We really appreciate it. I am your host, Cody Everett. Do us a favor, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. And then when you're done with that, head over to cultfilmandreview.com for all your cult film and review needs, like picking up a t-shirt or watching some videos and maybe checking out an episode or two, because all of them are on there. Also, some cool fucking things are on there too.
Sweet. Sell the
Way to
shit
sell
out
it.
of it.
Man.
You're using that salesman's tongue.
Yeah,
I got
it
a lot
is.
of cool stuff, man.
Can't close. I just
and
can't.
it's not a lot of money.
I just can't close. And then join us for Hard Ticket to Hawaii at Phoenix Film Bar on July 5th. This will be a very good time. They can get tickets where, Chris?
TheFilmBarPHX.com.
And as always, I am joined by Kyle Smith,
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Mullenbrecht,
Hey, what's up?
and Michael Salustio.
Hello, everyone.
Today we are talking about Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It was directed by Russ Myers. It was written by Roger Ebert. Came out in 1970. Had a budget of $1 to $2 million. We're not really sure. Made $40 million in the box office. Is that real?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's real.
Has an X to NC-17 rating. It's all over the place. 1 to 2 million X to NC-17 and currently sits at a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. This was a fan pick.
It was a double fan pick, actually.
This was-
Double fan pick.
Yeah, we got. I'll read the one we got, and then
Sure.
you can, Chris, take it over. But
Cool.
we got a fan pick came in from John Churchill, and John had to say, "I have always loved this ultra campy psychedelic train wreck of a masterpiece, and would love to hear CFIR's take on it."
Oh,
John
nice.
Churchill, that's a pen name of John Carpenter, right?
A lot of
It's true.
people don't
Yeah.
know
A
that.
lot
so.
of people don't know that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, JC.
And
Not
then,
falling for it this
and
time.
and then, oddly enough, coolly enough, I don't know how to say that.
Cooley.
Coolly. In a badass turn.
Very
Here we go. I got
coolly,
it. In a
yeah.
badass turn of events, Chris was recently out at Texas
I don't
Frightmare.
know if it was a turn of events. It was just like a.
No, it's a cool
It's in
happenstance.
addition to John Churchill's request, when I was at Texas Frightmare a few weeks ago, a listener approached me. She asked me, she's like, "Do I know you?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so. Maybe you do look kind of familiar."
No, get away. No.
No, and she was like, "Okay." And then we kind of thought about it for a minute. She's like, are you on a podcast?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And she said, "Oh, I love the podcast." And when she was dressed, and she was dressed like what's his name from Basket Case, the lead actor from Basket Case, and she had a basket with Belial in it. So it was
That's fucking awesome.
It was a badass costume. But she also said, "Hey, you guys should do Beyond the Valley of the Dolls." And I was like, "Oh man, yeah, I have been wanting to do that."
When did you tell her that the podcast's name was Cold Film and Review?
Yeah.
So that she didn't think she was.
She asked
She thought it was
me.
the Chris show.
She
That's
asked
just the way
me.
you
Yeah.
explained
the
it.
Chris
She was
show.
like, "Do you do a podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she was.
She's like, dude, I love shockwaves.
Shockwave, dude. Thanks,
We
Albert.
could be so lucky.
Yeah.
You're so cool, man. You're my favorite on that show. Chris is just like, cool.
No. It was really awesome. Actually, doesn't happen too often, but yeah, her name's Lexi, and she requested Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and she left me with, "How about that ending?" So
Yeah.
I was like, "Yep, this is probably one that we should touch on the show. It is a quintessential cult film."
I almost feel like I could do a whole episode on that ending.
hmm
I just have so many questions about it. But
Yeah.
and then Chris, you were also excited about talking about this, weren't you?
What's that?
I said you were also excited about talking about this film.
I think you just
Oh,
said
for
that.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he?
I enjoy Russ Meyer films,
Oh,
so
okay.
of course I'm.
No, he didn't. Kyle,
I'm into it.
Shut up.
I was really confused about that interaction, that exchange.
Cody's
It's
like trying to bully us into answers.
You like this
Kyle,
movie,
and you like
right?
this movie, right, bitch?
yeah.
Well, no, because it's written down here as of why did Chris pick this film? So I thought he was
Yeah.
also included into the two fans.
I
that
feel like
also
it was a
picked this film.
convergence of like fan picks and something that I would also have been interested in choosing. So it's just a perfect marriage of all those things.
Sure, just
I was actually.
take the thunder away from the fans, Chris. why
No,
don't you?
it was
Chris
really
Arney.
what pushed me in that direction.
I was happy it got picked because we've only done one other Russ Meyer film, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Faster
And-
Pussycat.
And I'm not familiar with his library at all, so I'm enjoying what I'm finding, going through his library and like seeing and just seeing what kind of
What
fucking
else have you seen?
this.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
This.
I'm like glad we're back to him because I figure, well, dude, that's why it's like I don't rush out to see stuff as much anymore because I figure eventually I'm going to see it on the show. Like, so if it puts a lot of things at the, I'll get to it.
You do realize that we do one show a week, which means we can only do 52 movies a year, and there's
Yeah.
about 1 million movies out there. You should probably watch
The
more
beauty of
movies.
the show, Kyle, will never end.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kyle. I go to
We'll be 80 and
Superstar
still doing the
Video.
Oh my God,
At
Superstar!
47th Ave in Olive in Phoenix. I'm sorry, Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, get that zip code right.
Okay. And I rent lots of movies, Kyle.
Yeah, check on it. Check on it.
Check on
Yeah.
pull my account.
Hey.
Pull my account. I dare you.
Can you check the Dropbox?
So I had not heard of this one, nor did I know that Roger
Ebert.
that guy was
Robert
involved.
Egert.
Roger Ebert. Yep.
Was involved with this either. Anyone else seen this maybe before? Kyle, you seen this before?
I haven't seen it before, but I've heard of it, and it's specifically because Roger Ebert. I'd heard this is a movie that he co-wrote, and I was like, Roger Ebert co-wrote a fucking movie, and it was part of some there was some documentary that I watched, and it had a bunch of clips and stuff from this movie in it, but I hadn't watched it before, so this is my first time all the way through.
Mike?
No, I hadn't actually ever seen it. Like I've obviously I've heard about it. Chris, I believe you talked about it a lot of times on the show. It's
No.
just one of those weird movies where I was just like, oh no, okay,
Yeah, he's never-
Jesus.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Yeah, Chris
No.
gave us a look like, yeah, I wouldn't agree with that.
I don't know if I've talked
I don't know.
about
I
it.
don't
heard
know if
say-
I would say a lot.
I bet we've definitely talked about it before.
No.
Anyways, so yeah, I mean, yes, I've heard about this movie, and I knew it was a quintessential cult film, but like kind of for the same reasons, Cody, that you said, like it's one of those things where I was just like, well, it's a quintessential. We'll get to it.
Yeah, right?
So yeah, it just never dawned on me to actually
To actually
pick it up.
watch it?
I actually was surprised too because I always thought this was some kind of weird like sci-fi movie.
Huh.
So did
Like
I.
Beyond the Valley of the Dolls sounds like
sci-fi.
I thought
I
it
think it was
was-
like
old-
Barbarella or something.
Yeah,
Yes,
or like
very much so.
Or
I-
Stepford Wives.
I
Yeah.
didn't think sci-fi. I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was getting into like a women in prison exploitation type thing.
there you go. I could see
Yeah.
that.
In a way, it does. In a way,
Kind
it
of.
does.
Kind of definitely has like weird elements of exploitation.
Prison of Fame.
So, Chris, you had seen it before?
I had watched most of this movie before. I bought it on VHS, but the copy was so terrible. Like,
Yeah.
the quality, of course, was bad, but the tracking was so awful on it that I feel like I didn't get the full experience when I had watched it before. So this felt fresh, but it was not the first time that I've seen
That
most
Question:
of this.
Was
Again,
the
that is-
tracking all fucked up just only during the nudity scenes?
Like what? Like it was edited or
Like-
something?
No, like somebody
maybe
had
somebody kept rewinding
paused
it.
It was
back and
formatted.
Oh my god! I was like, what do you mean? Is that that's the whole movie?
I know.
Yeah.
The whole movie is a nudity.
That's why
scene.
the whole movie is ruined. Superstar
Yeah.
Video,
Guys.
your home of tracking
Tracking problems.
No, it's not because they have DVD there. Guess what? 18 and older section. That's right. You can rent adult films.
Cutting that one out.
This is probably the most mainstream movie I feel like that he did.
Really? Not Faster Pussycat? Faster Pussycat?
No, I think this was more mainstream. Certainly
Oh,
made
no.
more money.
Well,
I don't-
that's for sure.
I don't know if you could say it's mainstream, but you know what? Let's get to the plot. We should probably figure out what this movie's
yeah, what
about.
is this about?
Guys, it's a classic tale of country bumpkins go to the big city to make it big and
Were they
lose their
bumpkins?
soul in the process. I mean, that's basically what happens, right? Except this movie starts off with some like wizard chasing a Nazi with a sword. And then you're kind of like wondering what the hell is going on. Then it jumps into this band, right? 3 young girls, this guy who's the manager, they decide, hey, let's go head over to LA. And they do that. And this guy named Z-Man discovers them and is like, hey, dude, we're going to make you famous. And that fame corrupts them. And they all make bad mistakes. It's Glitter. It's the movie Glitter.
It's Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
Okay.
that's all I have to go on there.
Bam.
That's a soft ending on that one.
That's it.
We eventually find out why
You
a
can't-
wizard is chasing a Nazi with a longsword. We do realize what that is.
I think that's I believe that's a claymore from
Yeah.
my Fortune Fire
Yes, yes.
education.
We,
That's a claymore.
we find,
Cody.
it's a good wraparound. to
Cody,
this
that's a
end.
claymore.
That's a claymore right there.
Cody, that's
Guys,
what they call a claymore.
When I saw Z-Man, I said he looks like the kind of guy that carry around a claymore. That's what I said.
I don't know about this guy.
It's true.
He's tiny, but I feel
Who
like
likes
he's
the
got a
sideburns?
strong arm.
He's got the,
The
yeah,
sideburns.
It's the sideburns.
Yeah, they call those claymore burns.
Clayburns. Clayburn.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
I'm ready.
And we're back. We're talking about Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. Came out in 1970, budget of $1 to $2 million. Roger Ebert. Huh?
It has a budget of $1 to $2 million. Roger Ebert's.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of Roger Ebert.
All right,
Wow, man. Well, so okay, let me just say after watching this film and then kind of thinking about who I know Roger Ebert as, and I was like,
Probably the same answer as all of us.
what the fuck was he doing writing this?
I think this was early in his career, and
Yeah.
it was an opportunity to work on something that was going to potentially have some kind of major influence. I don't know. They knew what they were doing with this one because Russ Meyer, I feel like, had already made Vixen, and had a lot of success, and had very much had the same like kind of themes and stuff. But this is like even more. Like they wanted to add the music and all the, like just everything that goes along with it. So I don't know. I think he knew it was going to be something a little bit special or interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Really?
Somebody's a fan.
All right.
I think he knew, and I think he was probably trying to figure out where he was going to go in his career. So he's like, "Fuck it, I'll write this thing," or like, like I'll work with Russ Meyer. I think Roger Ebert has a sense of
Russ
humor.
Meyer-
It'd be cool if we had more data. Hard data on this.
What was Russ Meyer like?
No,
a reputation at this point.
Yeah, Chris.
He had success with his previous film. Like it was commercially
Like was
successful.
he like recognized as being like a great director?
Not
or-
a great director,
Yeah.
but definitely a director that I think had his own style
'Cause I
going
think
on. They
that's-
knew what they were getting when
that's
they
what-
hired this guy.
That's what catches me up a little bit because you see Roger Ebert, saw his reviews. I wouldn't say he was the type of person that seemed to like bad movies.
Was he
you know?
reviewing at this time?
I don't know, but he would go on to say what he believed were good films and what weren't good films.
Yeah, but if you look at what he thumbs up and doesn't, like he definitely, compared to Siskel, he definitely would rate something high if it was energy and fun. Like if you go back and watch, there's a lot of movies where I'm just like, he gave that a thumbs up. Like I feel like he would just not do that, and him and Siskel would get in an argument about it. But if it's like high energy, fun, and creative, and they're trying to do something new. So I feel like he's a little bit, just a touch more of like the filmmaker's critic, where he can see like, okay, they were trying something cool,
I guess
and I enjoy it.
If Roger Ebert were to review Beyond the Valley of the Dolls,
Yeah,
what do you think he would have reviewed it?
I have no idea
as?
what his opinion on it was. I don't know if he was happy with the outcome or not. Like, we could have researched that too.
Chris.
He did other films. He did other. I'm just looking at it right now. He did other films with Russ Meyer after this film.
There you go.
So
Maybe he was just friends with Russ Meyer.
I think they genuinely probably enjoyed working with each other because they did go on to do other things, and this was early. Like this was before he started. He had a TV show where he was reviewing films. So this was kind of like the early days of Roger Ebert.
I'm going to go back to Plots with Mike real quick because this movie opens up with a wizard who's...
Before we even get into that, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
I mean, like, fuck these credits, though, right? Was anybody
Oh.
like, this is fucking irritating after a while?
I actually don't remember what were the credits.
They're just in the beginning.
They roll the entire
It's a long
end credits at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
So it's going up, I think, right? Are they going up?
Yeah, they're going up.
They're going up. So as you're watching like this weird scene, like what's going on? Like why is this wizard here?
You
like
can't really see.
You can't really see shit because the fucking it's like all the key grips and
like
shit
it's all
being
intentional.
going by. No, I understand the artistic value of it, and I recognized it immediately. Like, oh, this is kind of cool. But as soon as it started wearing on me, I was like, oh, fuck this, man. I can't see what's going on.
It was an early thing to do too, like put
Yeah.
all the credits at the front. Like there was a lot of movies.
That was just the way they did it back in the day.
No, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. It's just like the
Yeah.
way it clogged up the whole screen.
It did, yeah.
Like this is not like, this actor and this. It wasn't like when they just show a name. This is like the full end credit scroll going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And like you're trying to figure out why is this, what's chasing this woman?
Yeah,
Like
what's
what's
the
going on
chaos?
here?
Yeah, and that, but
Gotcha.
that's part of the mystery too, because you do get to find out,
do.
what it is. But yeah, but I agree with you. It is kind of like off-putting.
And then we cut to dreamy guy spinning a color wheel at a high school dance while these girls are playing some fucking sick rock and roll.
Yeah, we get introduced to what was the band's name?
They didn't have a name at this time.
Yeah, they did.
The Kelly
The
Affair?
Kelly Affair.
The
yeah.
Kelly
Kelly
Affair.
Affair, but then they get another name, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Z-Man gives them a different name,
Okay,
but they're
okay.
the Kelly
Yeah,
Affair.
because Z-Man hates the Kelly Affair name once they get out to LA, but we'll get it. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
They're just finishing their high school gig.
Yeah, and
at this
they're
point.
rocking a mean set so far. Really, really playing along with that backing music for sure.
Yeah, that fucking voice is you really don't believe that comes out of is it Debbie Reed? Is that who
Did it?
No.
Is that her real voice?
You talking about Dolly
Dolly
Reed?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Definitely not believable of that voice coming out of.
Well,
out
it
of
I
her.
don't know. It
just-
sounded like Janis Joplin a little bit. I kind of
It definitely had like a Joplin vibe to
I-
it for sure.
I think the problem was it just the lip syncing wasn't good.
Lip syncing
Yeah,
wasn't good at all.
not
And
at
she
all.
was the only one in the band that didn't seem like she actually heard the music before they
Yeah.
were playing along with it. Like the bass player was like, "Oh, you're convincing." The drummer was like, "Fucking right on."
Dude, Pat was right on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely. Yeah, Dolly Reed, like she's striking though. Like you're right when you.
There's not a woman in this movie that's not striking.
But as the main lady, the main one, like she just has these eyes that sparkle, and it's like I could see why they kind of picked her. But that was kind of her only face for a lot of the
It's
movie.
true. It
that's
is fucking
so
true.
man.
Yeah.
Sure, her range in terms of like emotional, her ability to emote through her
When
face
she
was
sings-
really limited.
I heard the worst lip song in the movie is when she sings the song in Z-Man's Party.
Oh yeah, that looked
Gotcha.
fucking
Yeah,
awful.
Because her facial expressions do not move, and like there's parts of the song where it's like this person would be mouth wide open belting this song, and
Right.
she's just like she's having a conversation.
Yeah, she's still, again, she's still the leader of this group, and
Yeah, so she's allowed to look like that, Cody. God damn it.
I think she can, even though she doesn't have a lot of like facial range, like she still works as the leader of the band. I
And
think.
anyways, these girls,
that should have been the band name, Facial Range.
yeah,
Fucking cool ass
Range.
fucking
they
band name.
they get done with this gig and then decide to go hunt down her estranged lost
Yeah,
aunt.
I couldn't remember what triggered that.
Me either. To go get some money, basically.
I feel like she
No,
just
it's like let's go to L.A.
Yeah, they
What?
just wanna
Oh,
go to
that's
LA.
right. They did that stupid. That was the scene that I thought was annoying. Was like that's how they did it. It was like we should go to L.A. Nothing but. It's basically someone saying something negative and then someone like twisting it to be
It
positive.
turned into
Somebody-
like a fucking
It was-
bad spoken
it
word.
was Harris.
It was like a
like
bad
that?
spoken word or
Yeah, I
like a
liked
weird
it.
Abbott and Costello bit.
It
and
was
it's like
Oh,
this
I
is
thought
stupid.
it worked. I
It
thought
was
it
her-
worked for this movie.
It was her and Harris arguing over going to LA.
That's what.
Yeah, I know, but,
Yeah, we
but
get it.
I know exactly what
But
it was.
the way
I'm just
they
like, I
did it
don't
was
like
just
it.
like you're like all the cool kids, all the bad twigs. Like it was just like
totally
it just
was.
kept, it went
Yeah,
on
it's
for like a
it's
good
like
2 minutes.
It was like little snappy poetry.
Yeah.
Well,
and
this
The bad
movie.
twigs.
Would you say this movie is music heavy? I mean, it's definitely like
Yeah.
it's not
I mean-
driven necessarily. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of a 50-50.
it's not a musical.
It's not a musical, but it does involve a lot of music. So for me, it just automatically worked because it was like this rhythmic like way of kind of getting a point across. So this is what I'm talking about. Like Roger Ebert was the writer. I feel like there was some intelligence to what he was doing there.
No, what? No, really?
No?
You don't think there was any intelligence in what he was doing?
I'm not saying.
Well,
that's
a bold statement saying any.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying that there wasn't intelligence to what they were doing. I don't know if they were necessarily successful at achieving all of that stuff.
Well, that doesn't mean that they didn't have a thought, like a plan out.
Because
like,
some of that shit, so much stuff comes out of fucking nowhere that makes no sense, like script wise in this movie, that it catches you off guard a lot of the time.
Yeah, I would say like whether it comes down to something from writing or whether it comes down to just what happened in the editing room, I will back a bold statement he said, which is like the intelligence in the execution was lacking in some portion here.
Yeah, definitely.
Because to Cody's point, there are scenes where they just happen. It's like we kind of were talking about this briefly about the Black Cauldron, where it's like you have these characters that just kind of like just things happen.
Yeah.
They just happen to everyone. And it's like, and it's all these oddly these individually, that's what it is. They're individually created story arcs and stories that are haphazardly stitched together around the central character of like Z-Man.
Definitely.
And it's just like, so from like being like, okay, intelligent, is it intelligent? Is it a lack of intelligence in writing or a lack of intelligence in the editing room that wasn't able to bring those worlds together?
There's one specific story that I have in mind that kind of proves that point, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel like I should just talk about it anyway. It's just
go ahead.
Okay.
Whatever, dude.
Okay.
Build it up.
But it's Casey's whole story about her and the whole thing between her and Harris. Like Harris goes over to her house. They do drugs. I believe they end up having sex.
Yeah.
They don't really know because it's the only sex scene not shown in this fucking movie.
It's true.
Only one. And just out of nowhere, though, like because you think they're both cool with it, but out of nowhere, she wakes up and then just starts accusing him of rape.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, it was hard for me as an audience to be like, what a piece of shit, because I'm like, I have no idea what even happened. He showed up depressed, his face was battered in and bleeding, and he had a drink, and then it just cuts to, you fucking asshole, and it's just like,
you're just like the rest of them. I'm like, what happened?
You guys
here?
are both
we haven't
tucked
really.
in.
Yeah, this is all like that's true. You get that feeling like, why is she accusing him? I think.
But then I feel like they wrote in like a whole bunch of backstory just to explain that shit. And that's where I feel like the intelligent design is not there.
It almost, you know what that whole portion felt like? It felt like if you went into filming this movie with like, the script was like it was just bullet pointed ideas, and it was like, we'll write the backstory as we film. Like it was filmed chronologically, and they were like, oh shit, we didn't explain that shit. All right, and scene.
I think that's what it was too. I think that like for some reason this film feels, as a whole, even not even just this one scene, but that's a great example of it. Is like it feels like it was more like, I want to capture this this
feeling,
yes.
here, and I want to capture it here. I want to capture it here. I want to capture it here. And it's like, okay, how do we get from here to here? I don't know, write something.
Because I didn't
Rich
cut to a
Ant.
montage, cut to a montage of something, and
then
we spin into the scene.
Yeah, it's like the big ideas came first, and then all the smaller ideas followed, maybe
yes,
Yeah,
6 months after
to
they
be
found
honest
the
with
big
you,
ideas.
I think this has a lot to do with the editing of this movie and the way that it's edited. Because you're right, like it'll just jump from something like hard right into the middle of something else. There's a lot of like intercutting, like I guess previous scenes or future scenes, like into certain things. It's very chaotic editing.
What's weird about it too is like the editing. There's no consistency in that. What you're describing,
right?
No.
Like the editing doesn't follow this consistent path of confusion. It actually gets progressively worse as the movie goes on because you feel like the first half of the movie is like they spend a little more time on the cuts and the edits to kind of build this character arc, this story, and build this troop that we're going to follow. And then as we get close to the end, it's almost like it's a mad dash to the finish line. It's like, oh fuck, we didn't cut back to this one. All right, throw that one in really quick. All right, let's tie up, this weird arc going on with this couple here.
Yeah.
Let's shoot back over here. And it got faster as it got to the end.
I have a thought. Okay, this movie is supposed to be showcasing sex, and Russ Meyer even went on to say he wanted to put more sex in this movie, but there wasn't enough time because the studios were trying to like rush him to get it out. So it's like So, do you think like the exploration of all these characters and them all needing these separate side stories was also a catalyst to try to shoe in as many sex scenes as possible?
No, here's
I guess. Okay.
Someone can take that.
I would say here's my disagreement with it. No, because what kind of piggybacking off what Kyle was saying on his last point of the first half of this film is very much a slow burn where I almost feel like it's a character piece where I honestly thought it was going to be like a straight up drama with the way that these characters were going. Cause it literally goes from like not wholesome, but you're like these, they're just normal kids to total fucking weird like LA corruption, seedy ass fucking
They
people.
were thrown into stardom pretty much. They got dumped in the lap of a famous, LA music producer, like basically, and he is now like tearing them away from their manager. The age old tale. And there's, and then the lead is getting more famous and going off with
she jumps into that head first.
And that was the thing that and maybe it was because I made assumptions about her as a character, but I felt like from what I had learned, what I had briefly learned about her up until that point, and then seeing her just immediately be like, yeah, fuck y'all, I'm jumping into this. It just seemed like a weird character turn for her.
Yeah.
Like her other friends seemed more grounded in reality. Like they stayed in the arc that was created in the first chunk of the film.
Yeah.
And they lived in that arc.
Except again, I mean, I guess Casey's is
Casey's just the quiet one. She was the quiet one.
Her story is, I think, about. I mean, am I wrong in thinking about it's about her being a lesbian?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what her story is about.
Her story's about kind of
like being
realizing that and learning that, or kind of coming to terms with that.
I feel like maybe a man mistreated her and she's maybe scarred by that, and then so she tries the lesbian thing, like in the film. I get the
ends on the lesbian thing.
Well, like she's just a lesbian throughout the whole thing.
I feel like when she's actually in her like purest and happiest state is after she is kind of met someone.
Okay. Because it's like, just to go off Casey's story too, is like, again, she has one of the weirdest ones, but she goes to that party, she meets that girl, she leaves, I think she leaves because she has feelings for her and she feels weird about that. So she just goes home and apparently is just doing downers and drowning her sorrows because she disappears throughout a good third of the film until Harris shows up at her doorstep. So I feel like that's what it was kind of saying, was like she was dealing with her sexuality and trying and figuring out where she's going to place in the world.
I think the problem that we're having is you have a director who is solely focused. Well, not solely. I don't want to make that brush that broad of a stroke, but it's someone who's definitely more focused on getting sex scenes into a film, mixed with, I think, a writer who is trying to make a character piece.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, I don't know, man. Can I be honest with you? Like, right off from the get-go, I knew that this was going to go that way. Like, the characters at the beginning, right when they're in the van after the band, high school thing, they basically give total clues as to, like, their character choices later on. Like, you can tell immediately that, is it Marsha? Petronella?
Pet?
Yeah, Pet, right?
The drummer?
Yeah. That she's, like, super into drugs. Like, She's always constantly looking for a joint. She's always constantly doing this. And Casey gets mad because the Harris and Kelly are having sex.
Yeah, they're always making it. They're always
and she's like kind of irritated by it. Like, and I knew immediately, I was like, okay, either like Casey's somewhat kind of in love with Kelly a little bit. There's something going on here because why is she so infuriated by this? And this other one just wants to find out where her next fix is. She seems very impulsive. So like, when they go on and go make those choices in their life, it didn't come to a surprise to me. I was just like, oh, okay, they're just fulfilling. They're showing how the city of LA, like this fame, has like taken their negative aspects and kind of like allowed them to really have free range to explore them in any way they choose to do it.
That's interesting. I didn't get that. Like Pet was like, I didn't get that she was.
I didn't pick up on that with Pet.
She was like looking for the next fix.
But really, she like right when she's in the thing, all she wants to do is smoke weed. Like it's like immediate. Like
I guess for
weed?
me,
Okay,
as for me, I'm watching.
Weed
I'm
now.
watching. I'm like, oh, it's like a '70s movie. Okay, so
oh my god, dude!
it's a psychedelic film. I'm like,
It wasn't so much that, it's just like I got the impression of her impulsiveness. Like she's always
Gotcha.
looking for the next big excitement thing to
Well,
do.
that kind of makes sense with what she ends up doing,
Right.
Later on in the film. So if she is impulsive in that way, yeah, for sure, emotions maybe get to her. Yeah, and then Harris. I mean, we haven't really talked too much about Harris yet.
He's the band manager, and he's in love. He's either in love or gay. I can't. I mean,
No,
like-
he's in love.
no, I know.
He
But it's a
totally
weird.
is.
It's a weird fucking plot point in this movie.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
definitely
don't
one that I don't feel
understand.
was executed very well. We'll get to it a little bit later.
We can
but,
get to it now. I guess
okay.
we're here.
I mean, it's okay.
40 minutes, guys.
So Harris seemingly is in love with Kelly. They are going out. They're
Yep.
boyfriend and girlfriend. Once they get into LA,
That
Kelly
stops.
seems to do and this, I don't know if maybe this is a sign of the times and this was understood or something like that, but she's very much entranced with the whole free love thing.
Yeah.
And to the point where I don't think she ever really sees her sleeping with anybody else in LA as being cheating on Harris.
think-
It almost seemed like they never even had a breakup, really.
I think
It's just he gets
I think-
gets mad, goes has sex with another woman, and then getting to this point about whether or not he's gay or not. Eventually, this woman dumps him and calls him gay, and
Yes.
he runs off to Casey, and he's really, really super sad about it.
And
Yeah,
he's
but-
questioning if when he's talking to Casey, he is questioning his sexuality to her, which is a weird thing that he's questioning his sexuality to her when she's also questioning her own sexuality.
Yeah, but I feel like the stuff with Harris was
Yeah.
I think the thing that where the porn star that he was having sex with just said it to be kind of a mean, hurtful thing, and then he's basically because she throws it at him, and the fact that the girl that he's in love with doesn't share the same monogamous ideas that he does. Now he's questioning. He's like, wait, am I?
Yeah.
Is that does she know this or something? And that's why that's the kind of vibe I got from
The
him.
sad thing about this is the way that ends. He wasn't either. He was just massively homophobic
Yeah.
because he ends up having sex with his friend.
Yeah.
What I took it as to prove to himself that he was not gay.
Maybe so.
I mean, sure, they were he was drunk and I think she was high, but
yeah. I think they were both fucked up and sad. And then
yeah,
they
but
just
hold
hooked
on,
up.
but I mean, we learn later on that he had sex with her when she was asleep, so he definitely
Well, that's where
raped her.
I feel like that's.
and
I don't know if that.
that's where it gets questionable because
Yeah,
of
I
her
don't know.
her dialogue is so weird in that scene. So
I mean,
it goes later. Casey's story goes on later on that and Harris's story intertwine where Harris tries to fucking kill himself out of
Yes.
nowhere. Cool scene, by the way.
I don't
I
think it's out
actually-
of nowhere. That Harris is
Well, it goes on a
truly
slow
the
build.
character that's just can't handle the LA scene, and it completely cripples and kills him.
Yeah.
He basically tries to kill himself in front of the fucking band.
Yeah.
Yeah, live on
Singing
TV.
a song for him live on
Yeah.
TV. Great scene, by the way. That's one of my favorite scenes in this movie, which is weird to say because it's a guy trying to kill himself. But the way the guy who's running the TV show reacts with having the not turning having them
Oh, yeah,
cut
they
to
want the
commercial.
ratings. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, but I don't know. That was one thing that I didn't buy.
That
No,
they
it
would
just-
allow
it was-
that.
Yeah, I
no.
don't. This is not this is
This is not 2019, guys.
yeah, this is
Come on.
no. What I mean is
God,
it's a
Ted.
daytime not a daytime, but it's like a late night show, right? I saw it as a wholesome family
Yeah.
show, and this guy's like, we got to get the ratings. I'm like, this isn't 1992.
Show dead
this
bodies.
Isn't
Show dead bodies. Like
It felt like Natural Born Killers at that point. I'm
Yeah.
like, this film took a
clearly.
turn.
Well, it
This
does-
is a comedy.
well, no,
I mean,
Okay, yeah.
it does weird things too because so then we find out basically that Harris got Casey pregnant, and Casey's defending Harris to her lesbian lover, and why she wants to keep the baby, basically because it might be the only living thing
Yeah.
left of Harris because Harris might not make it through this. And then she's saying, yeah, but he raped you, blah blah. And then she starts well, I don't know, who knows what happened? I was on drugs, he was drunk. They kind of bring it back to where you don't hate Harris.
Well, the thing is
they're
they.
trying to. They
No,
were
I
oh
feel
fuck,
like-
we made a mistake, but call him a rapist.
They
'cause-
never wrapped it up. I feel because the thing is you never see what happens. They just both wake up simultaneously, and she immediately accuses him of raping her. But weren't they both fucked up? Like, I mean,
Yeah, but that's not
Not an excuse.
as an
not an
audience
excuse.
member, you're not even given the information. And even the way he reacts, like at that moment, he does seem like he's like, what the fuck? Like
her dialogue also when she's being questioned about the baby and keeping the baby makes it seem like she's not sure what happened either, and she just accused him.
Exactly.
It did
It's
kind of
very
feel,
weird.
It did kind of feel like that, but
I don't know. It was a weird fucking line.
The
to toe.
problem-
The whole
problem-
scene
the
is weird
problem
because
with
you
this-
have she's also being talked into an abortion that
Yeah,
she clearly doesn't
dude,
want to have.
Dude, there's so many moments in this film where I felt like all they were trying to do was like anything that was controversial in the 70s got shoehorned into this fucking movie. Like,
Yeah, the abortion
like
scene
this,
too is fucking weird too, because
Yeah.
like as soon as she sees the stirrup, she's like lets out this blood curdling scream like it's a fucking slasher movie,
and then she
you're
goes
like,
through with it.
okay, what the fuck is this trying to say?
And then it cuts to them like out in the fucking
In a meadow?
national forest, and she's laying on a tree, and
Yeah,
they're just like,
they're laying under El
good
Capitan.
decision, great decision we just made.
like I just did, I didn't understand.
real
That was the
weird.
part where I just didn't understand what they were trying to do.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's where, like, especially with Casey's story, there's parts of this movie that are so disjointed. Like the ones who makes the most sense to me, especially with the perspective that you put it, is Pet's. Like Pet's story of like falling in love, meeting this waiter who's also in law school, falling in love with him, but then getting caught up in the flash of this like heavyweight boxer and sleeping with, making a mistake, sleeping with him, getting caught, but still being in love with, like that was like a real fucking story.
Yeah, that was the best
was
fleshed out
great.
and completed story in this entire
And
film.
just the scenes were great too. Just with like that boxer dude was fucking scared when he comes back into the apartment.
Yeah, that fucking part freaked me out. I don't like
Right?
that shit. It makes you feel uncomfortable.
Oh my god, the whole thing.
You're like, what is he gonna do?
What's he gonna do? He's
'Cause
the
a fucking
heavyweight
champion of the world.
Yeah, he's already hit him with a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was, and he's such a likable character, even as a lawyer.
Emerson, you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. He is. He there was some good acting in this movie, like regardless of like the most of it is like amateur, but
Yeah.
but there was some like that, like I thought Pet and Emerson were like some of the stronger actors in the film.
Oh, I agree with that 100%. I thought Pet was easily the best of the three in the band. She was great.
Right.
I liked he played his part fantastic. Lance Rock,
yep.
dude, that character was fucking evil as shit from the get-go, but also somewhat likable just because he played that. I feel like he played it so well. That's why I liked him. I was like, I believe you're this dickhead dude who just wants money, who's going from rich woman to rich woman, using his body to get what he wants, and like does that. Didn't see the end coming, but for Lance
I don't
Rock,
think anybody saw that end coming.
Yeah.
Porter Hall I thought was really good too.
Yeah, that was a weird story too because I didn't. And this is another thing too. I didn't understand.
Why Kelly slept with him?
Yeah, like this is again one of those things where I kind of felt like what we were talking about, where it was just like, all right, now we got to connect this scene with this scene.
Right.
What does she do? Well, she's gonna seduce him, and the whole time I'm thinking, why? He was just about to give you the money.
I feel like that weakened her character for me.
It just didn't make any sense. There was no motivation behind it.
No, and it didn't do anything for her, did it? It didn't lock him into something.
No,
Yeah.
it didn't. It did. I thought she was going to use it maybe as this is some sort of like, it's a power move. Now I've got
Yeah,
something over you. But
blackmail.
he
No.
basically kind of
He kinda
vanishes
tries
from
to-
the movie
She
after
does
that.
say that. She does try to use it as that.
Yeah.
But like,
No one cares
So?
at that point. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so funny. The
Like-
reaction, everyone's just like, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's well, let's talk about the other out of fucking left field thing that happened out of nowhere. So we haven't talked much about Aunt Susan, who is also the same age as our main character.
Yeah.
But her odd fucking love story where Baxter
Oh,
just
yeah.
comes back out
Yeah.
of nowhere. We're
Baxter
supposed
comes
to,
back. Really important.
and we're just supposed to know who Baxter
Dude, there's
is.
so many moments in this movie that feel like a ridiculous scene from like a sitcom. All of a sudden, like Baxter walks in, and then he's from like 5 seasons
And he just-
ago, and
just-
now he's back 5 years later, and all
And
that.
just
It's
leaves
like,
his fiance.
"Woo!"
Like,
yeah,
Walks in with his fiance.
Technically, I'm engaged, but fuck it.
Walks in with his fiance, leaves without her.
Yeah. I think the fiance just ends up at the bar.
The rule is don't go to a Z-Man party. That's
oh yeah,
That's like,
definitely
if
a rule.
there's anything I
Number
gotta
one
take
rule.
away from this, it's like, stay. If you go to a Z-Man party, just stay on the outskirts and just watch.
Just watch from afar.
We haven't talked about Z-Man. Let's talk about Z-Man.
So Z-Man is the hip producer who
He's kind of like the main protagonist. He's kind of the circle. He's like the center of all this.
He kind of ties all of it together,
Yeah.
and he steals the girls away and renames the band from Harris, and but he also talks Shakespearean.
Yeah.
Always talks in like pentameter, I guess, but I mean, I didn't count.
It's got like a
To make sure.
Frankenfurter vibe to him.
He does, and
Yeah.
his character's motivation's a little weird. I thought,
Mhm.
like there are times where you think like, oh, this guy's an asshole, and then he goes right to like, oh, he seems like he's a all right, decent dude.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to being an asshole. Like he kind of goes back for you don't know what to think of him for
I
a
thought
long
mostly
time.
a dick all the time.
Mostly
Like-
a dick, but like there's that scene where Lance starts a fight with Harris, and then like Z-Man comes up to him and kind of like scolds him about it, like, well, you slept with her and that was her boyfriend. Did you really have to go do that? Like, why the fuck does Z-Man give a shit?
Yeah.
It was a weird thing where I was like, does he actually
It's almost
care
like
about these
Z-Man.
girls?
It's almost like Z-Man likes the theatrics of everything and being the center of everything, but like he's able to take a step back and be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why would you do that?
I don't know,
and like
man.
snap out of that character.
I don't think-
But then he went back into it
Yeah,
immediately
that's what I was-
afterwards.
I'm very
think-
confused by his
I
character.
see him as a master manipulator, and he's always trying to manipulate the people
but
that he's
the end,
with.
the end definitely suggests that he's not a master manipulator or in control of his faculties in
So,
any weird way.
Yeah, let's start talking about the end here because we're getting.
Well, it ties into Z-Man, so this
Yeah,
is
it ties in. It's perfect. It's perfect to get into because
best character arc in the film.
I'll tell you what. Since what's the fucking Canadian one, the metal Canadian one we did.
What?
What did you say?
Sansa?
Sansa Stark?
Since the metal Canadian movie that we did with the fucking also ending out of nowhere.
The metal Canadian
Oh,
movie.
With Thor.
Thor, yeah.
With,
What was that movie called?
Adventures of Babysitting?
No, the metal band that went to the cabin and the devil, and it turned out he was the angel.
Oh,
Oh my
God damn
God!
it.
Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Thank you, Chris. Since Rock and Roll Nightmare, not have I been since
Yeah, you're saying
Rock-
You keep
sense.
saying sense, yeah. I'm
Sense,
like,
like you're
what are you
sensing.
talking about?
Your spider sense is tingling.
since
Since.
since
Sins.
Yeah. Go.
since Rock and Roll Nightmare, I have not been thrown off by an ending. And like that much, like this one threw me off because I did not. Again,
Really?
I don't know, dude.
Really?
Were you expecting boobs?
Dude.
I was not expecting
Hold on. I'm going to say this. Rock and Roll Nightmare still has the most unexpected ending for me ever.
I agree.
This movie, I feel like, would have been more shocking and more like whatever if I had not seen Sleepaway Camp when I was younger. Like, Sleepaway Camp did that gender flip, like, oh, it's actually been a boy this whole time type thing. Whereas Rock and Roll Nightmare was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, if he ended up being like an alien or something, I might agree with you. But he's just a regular dude that's just been pretending he was a guy this whole time.
Yeah, but also, but there's
He's just a regular
layers
dude,
to
but
that.
he's been a guy this whole
Well,
time.
I mean,
There's
that's the thing.
layers to
Go on.
this.
Okay,
There's
let's-
layers to this.
yeah.
Like, it's not just that he is pretending he is a guy and he's actually a woman, which is kind of uncommon. It's also that he rips his tits out, which are very strange looking. And then he wields a
They just look
fucking.
like tits.
Yeah,
Like
this is
small
like
tits.
Look.
No, they look bizarre.
Yeah.
No, he's
they're
talking about
weird.
there are scenes where they definitely put a prosthetic on him.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, but everything else close up is a real breast, Chris.
So what?
Yeah, that's
Basically,
real
what
tits.
happens is at the end of this
Not
movie, Z-Man,
Fucking Chris.
Z-Man decides he's gonna throw a real exclusive party. He invites everybody over. They drink wine and peyote, and they start tripping and having sex.
Yeah.
And Z-Man wants everybody to call him Superwoman at this point, and then
Oh, he gives
got
everyone
costumes on,
costumes.
yeah.
Yeah.
he tries to have sex with Lance Rock, but Lance Rock is not having it. And he's like, dude, because he's just not into dudes. And I think Lance Rock is being pretty goddamn polite for how strong.
I think
Superwoman's coming
I
on.
honestly think he's being very polite given the entire circumstances of the situation. He took the peyote. He took what looked like magic mushrooms. He did all this stuff just to, play.
And he's been an
play
asshole
along.
pretty much throughout this movie.
It was funny.
is
I
like
thought
the
to myself,
nicest part.
I was like, wow, he's being really nice in this scene, and he is the biggest dick in this film so far.
Yeah.
yeah, he doesn't get offended by Z-Man coming on to him.
He's just more or less like knock it off.
He's like, come on,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Like, not right now. Like,
This is like
you'll sleep this off.
Yeah,
What's funny is I almost thought like Z-Man in this interaction between him and Z-Man, it was almost like, wow, I think Z-Man's like this guy's legit only real friend, and like that's why he's like being a little more calm and chill about the whole thing.
Well, like, but keep in mind they just got into a fight like the scene before this. Like he decks Z-Man out.
No, not before he puts his hand down his pants when they're in bed.
No. Yeah, there is. There's a scene where he ridicules him about the boyfriend.
Oh, well,
and Lance and him get into a fight, and Lance decks him.
Yeah, but okay, so what?
And
That explains the character turn?
No. What I'm saying is like I don't think they have a scene between that. I think this is like in a weird way. Like I think it's. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is it says something about their relationship if Z-Man could just call him up after they've had like a fist fight
again
and be like, "Come on down."
I feel like you're kind of supporting what I'm saying. It's like they feel like they're the only characters who are actual friends because they like get into like a brawl and be like, "You cool? Yeah, you want to come hang out? Okay, cool."
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make it sound
Although
like I was
Z-Man
disagreeing
has
with
just
you.
wanted to maybe hook up with Lance for a long time. And
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
So
I mean, I think so, but like, I get the impression that they've known each other for a long time.
And I think they specifically have known each other for a long time because Z-Man's into him.
So
and it's someone to keep around.
Superwoman can't take this rejection of not being called.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Superwoman.
At this point, Z-Man has switched to Superwoman and is not breaking character.
Hell no.
Refuses.
Yes, and
also comes out of like nowhere of like really. I'm like, man, he's really refusing to break like this character of the Superwoman thing. Like, well, they're really and goes on this like weird rant monologue.
Mm-hmm.
And then
that happens quite a bit in this movie.
and then grabs a sword and rips his boobs out.
And then you find out that Z-Man's been a woman the whole time. I guess
that's also what I question.
What they were trying to say, or
because they call him a him after that though too. After the boobs are out, they still continue to call him a him. So I don't know if they're saying he's transsexual or if they're saying it's an actual woman.
I think that's a woman that is like who's been like identifying or pretending to be a man this whole time.
Keep in mind, this is the 70s. Like this isn't like today where it's accepted.
They wouldn't immediately
to agree. Like, okay, we understand.
They wouldn't adjust. They wouldn't adjust accordingly in the 70s as they would now. I guess.
I mean,
I agree with that 100%. What I'm saying is like I think that's what they were trying to say though.
I don't think they were trying to say anything because again, it's the 70s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they're trying to say whatever they're trying to say in the best way they can in their weird 70s minds at this point.
I honestly feel like
I do think they're trying to make. They're definitely blending gender here.
Yes.
And they're playing with that. And I guess in a way, even when I watched this, I was like, it's pretty revolutionary a little bit for its thing. But they're not really. They're not doing it in a woke way.
Dude, that's what I'm going to say. Like,
way.
Here's the thing I'm going to say is like, sure, they might from the outside looking in or from 2019 looking in, and you're like, oh wow, pretty revolutionary. But I feel like this is shock value. Through and through, man.
They're not doing it in the right way at all.
Or they're trying to like this will be like good, interesting commentary. It's like, you know, it's gonna be shocking.
Yeah,
Z-Man has tits.
It does turn into like the fucking crying game scene.
Yeah,
and like it's a big like, oh man, what a shocking thing. Yeah. Nowadays it'd be like, all right, like,
but then he just fucking chops Lance Rock's heads off. Heads off.
Yeah,
both of them.
I was thinking the whole time when he grabbed that sword. I was saying that's not battle ready. That's not a battle ready sword.
Yeah, where'd he get a battle ready sword?
No,
where'd he get a battle ready sword?
But then I thought, Z-Man, he's got money. Of course, he's got a battle ready.
I love the
Claymore.
anticipation of it though. Like he's jumping around the room and shit like that, and I'm like, and just like knock it off. I'm like, all right, no, you're gonna fucking get it, dude. Like you're about to get it.
How did he hog tie him though? Like. That's not explained. It's just he's just hog tied.
Doesn't he? He knocks him out when they're in the bed.
Yeah,
he knocks him out and then
he wakes up.
He comes to hog tied.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So the bigger question is, how do you get him from the bed to the living room?
He's got to move him.
That guy's a psycho. He can move.
He's got
psychos can do crazy things. He has psycho strength.
That Lance guy looked fucking heavy.
Also, at this point, we forgot to mention he has his Nazi sidekick. We forgot to mention his Nazi sidekick.
The bartender throughout the film, who's for the duration of this party, will be playing the role of a Nazi.
Yeah.
Well, wait a second. I was under the impression that he, as his employer, Z-Man made him dress up as a Nazi, just like everybody else.
Obviously, that's what I just said.
Oh no! I just wanted to make sure that we weren't. Was he
I
actually
said,
a Nazi?
No, I said the
Okay.
bartender throughout the film for the duration of this party is playing the role of a Nazi.
Right.
That's what I just said.
Right, but what I'm asking is,
No, he's not a Nazi. He's a bartender who's
he's
getting
just doing
paid
what
to
his
do.
job.
He's
Okay,
getting
all
paid
right,
whatever
all
his
right. He's just like
boss
whatever my boss asks me to
whims
do.
are.
Okay.
Yeah.
That poor guy he just gets murdered on the fucking beach.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Hard. Yep. Stabbed up.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, that's where
Stabbed
we're
up
at.
from Chris.
This guy's wielding a sword. He hacks off a guy's head and then goes fucking crazy. And
Dude, I'll be honest with
bartender
you.
catches it, and
Super-
so does Casey.
I was really
they get killed
I
a
was
different
I
way.
was really shocked with how fucking Superwoman just fucking wrecks shit. Yeah, after he goes and kills with a claymore, he goes and gets a gun and just starts fucking shooting people.
yeah.
Well, yeah. So he lobs off fucking Lance's head. Casey's standing in the doorway. She sees it. She screams and runs. Then Nazi bartender comes in. He sees it. He screams and runs. And now basically they're both booking it towards the beach. And Casey ducks into a beach house while the Nazi guy gets it. And then, yeah, Z-Man goes back to the house, grabs a fucking gun, and then just shoves that gun into Casey's girlfriend's or lover's fucking
Roxanne,
mouth,
yeah.
which is a terrifying scene. Because in the beginning of the movie, I was waiting, because, again, we're replaying the scene we already seen before. In the beginning of the movie, I was just waiting for that gunshot. And now that it was about to happen, I was like, okay, I want to see what, like, are they going to, like, hold on it or not? And they cut away, but they cut away a little. They let the special effect happen a little bit, which was really, I thought it was gross looking. Because,
Yeah.
like, just like a gallon of blood just rockets out of her mouth and nose together. Just like, it's like, oh, shit.
that was good. It was effective.
Fucking great
I
effect.
actually thought this scene was like pretty fucking frightening because I mean I don't know if you have, but I've seen people have bad trips before.
Not
like, they
like
get-
this.
Right. Like but have you ever seen a guy have a bad trip and they're saying and doing things where you're like, ooh, like this could go bad.
Yeah.
Like, but you're
Yeah.
there and you're like
I
trying to
have.
walk them through it.
Yep.
And like this was that nightmare come to life. Like that person. It's like that shit you like maybe you read on Reddit or something like that, where it's like there's a story about a guy in South Dakota, like he took a bunch of shrooms with a guy and he ended up like ripping out his heart and eating it.
Wow.
And he woke up and he didn't even remember it. It's like the scare, like these scary stories that are
Right.
probably not true that are meant to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Like this one felt like because you're watching this guy and you're like, you don't know at first, is he gonna kill like Lance with the sword?
Right. Or is he just fucking around? Is he
Yeah,
just
is he
being a
fucking
weirdo?
around? And then when he
Yeah.
does it, you're like, oh fuck,
Yep.
oh fuck, and then he gets a gun, and you're like, oh fuck,
No,
this
he's
is not
lost
gonna.
it.
You know,
yeah.
all I'm saying is this is why I don't have a desire to try peyote. Like a 10, 12-hour trip, that's just too long.
It's just exhausting.
That's just too long to,
Yeah, I don't
to
think
not.
I'd want-
not-
yeah,
not-
you gotta come back
I
down
think
to
you'll be able to
earth.
come back to reality sooner
Yeah.
than that. I
It's a
think.
long time.
This end scene was not even written in the original script. It was
Which part of it?
this whole end part where
The party.
he hauls off
Basically
and
the
kills
party?
all these people and is a woman. It was written because the Manson murders had just happened.
Well, I totally saw that.
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
so it was influenced by that. I
What's-
don't even think they had all the
what's
details at the
great-
time about what was going
Hold on,
so.
because what's great about this end scene, and I definitely don't want us to not touch on it. Casey realizes what the fuck is going on.
Thank you for bringing this up. This was just what I
And
was about to
she
bring up.
calls her friends.
The worst decision ever.
And at this point in the film, Harris, who attempted to kill himself earlier, he is now recovered. He's now in a wheelchair because he's paraplegic, or not, I don't know if it's paraplegic.
He's just fucking like he's in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair.
Probably in
He can't walk. He
recuperation.
can't walk.
Yeah.
He probably won't walk ever again. Whatever.
We don't know.
So there.
But
So
okay,
that's what
yeah.
the doctors say. They
Does
say
he say that?
yeah, he might not walk again. So yeah,
Such a
they're
soap
playing.
opera
They're
thing.
playing a friendly game, a board game, and then there's the funniest scene in the world, which is Harris trying to like. He almost like he's the leader of the pack. He's like, we gotta go, and he's like. Just him trying to get his goddamn wheelchair
tell you what it
out of
becomes?
the car. It becomes this slapsticky fucking scene,
I want to
man.
say that, like, when I started watching, I was like, this is the worst episode of Scooby Doo I've ever fucking seen because they get in a big
Right?
van.
Yeah.
No,
It's like, let's go get him.
it blew my mind because she's like, even Casey's like, call the cops right away. And Harris is like, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how long is it gonna take for everybody to get situated? Like, get him in the car, drive all the way over there, like, then get out of the car, see what's going on. Like, call the cops also while you're on your way, before you're on their way
That's
there.
the part that I thought was funny because it was like the reality situation coupled with the fast-paced music of the scene. It was like they're all rushing on the car, and it's just like, all right, we got to get Harris down these steps. All right, let's help him into the car. Okay, put his wheelchair in the car next to him. All right, seatbelts, everyone. Seatbelts, okay.
Check
And
the mirrors.
Go.
Let me check the mirrors.
They get
10 and 2. 10 and 2. Let me check this. This blinker's working.
But then when they get to the house, they all book it out of the car, just leaving Harris behind. And like that became sad because he like fell out of the car. He's trying to get his goddamn wheelchair out of the car so he can help. And then as soon as he gets to the door, they all come barreling out on top of him. And knocking. It was like the
What a
most
calamity.
dude. This movie has so many parts in it. And this is one of the big ones where it's just like it becomes like this slapsticky sitcom nightmare.
Yeah, but the ending is really great. Where it's like, you know, Harris is getting the ability to walk again after after they kill the bad guy.
Kill Z-Man, his toe starts to wiggle, and it's like, okay.
I don't want to forget the one scene that actually really like shocked me and fucking made me feel super bad is Casey gets shot in the head.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like verbally
I thought
like,
for sure
oh,
she'd
no.
get out of it. Yeah.
Me too. I thought she was gonna make it too, but yeah, no happy ending for her.
No.
Yeah, that sucks.
And then
Sucks. I liked her a lot too.
Then they just do really.
Then they have
one
a
of the
lot of
weirdest-
endings.
Yeah.
weirdest things I think I've ever seen in a movie, where it just like goes to each character and literally tells you the lesson that
Yeah,
they
there's this
learned
weird
in the
voiceover.
movie. And
epilogue.
I don't,
Epilogue.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but
I don't not agree with it. I think that it's kind of interesting.
There's definitely
and Susan was too nice.
Dude, there was okay. So there was a few characters who was like, okay, cool, you nailed it, and then there was a few characters who were like, man, you're fucking digging for something to say about this person, man. Jesus, like whatever you said doesn't apply.
Something about the excess in this movie all around, I don't mind. Like they always seem to hammer it a little too hard. Like again, going back to like the descriptions of California, you know, in LA, like down to this end scene where it's just listing off these people and the lessons that they learned.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just all felt like okay, like this was like part of this movie, and I enjoyed it for that aspect.
It felt a little bit like a I don't know, like a student like educational movie.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, one that's trying to teach you like not to have sex or do
Mhm.
drugs or whatever.
Mhm.
Like it felt like it was shot in that kind of fashion
Mhm.
where like at the end there was like, and Billy learned this day that
Yeah.
drugs aren't right.
I know you
Yeah.
saw a movie with sex and drugs and
Yeah.
rock and roll, but there's a moral here for everyone.
yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll rate this Mammer Jammer. We will be right back.
Trying to do my best NPR voice right now, Cody.
By the way, one thing we didn't mention, this is it's a sequel, but not exactly a sequel to Valley of the
This
Dolls.
was a great intro.
Yep. It was originally planned to be a direct sequel, and then it all got switched around, and then somebody tried to sue them because an actress from the Valley of the Dolls
Mhm.
tried to sue them because the studio because she claimed it was pornography, and she didn't want her name was tarnished because of it. So then they put that disclaimer in front of it that says this is not a sequel to that film or related to that film, to kind of clear the air on that.
Weird.
What I
Anyways,
understand,
all right.
yeah.
Nice little history lesson there.
Yeah.
All right, what do you say we rate this Mammer Jammer? Kyle, what does John want us to rate it?
John wants us to rate it happenings, and he rated it 4 out of 5 happenings.
Okay,
Wow.
if you do a what's the fuck rating box for this? Can
Don't
it be?
do it.
Can it please be the DVD copy of
The Happening?
Of The Happening?
Not a tree, maybe a tree.
I was like,
Maybe just a tree.
I thought for sure it was going to be like Mark Wahlberg or something like
Yeah.
that. saying,
Did you
like,
say Wahlburger?
no, ma'am.
Just
no.
just M Night Shyamalan. Just him.
Happening.
The Happening. Let's start with Mike.
I am going to give this 3 happenings. So like this is my second Russ Meyer movie. I get the same feeling I felt when I watched Faster Pussycat. Like, I feel like he deals with a lot of like really cool subjects that we are still talking about today, but I never feel like he ever was doing it on purpose. Like, I feel like it was like he was like, I'm gonna exploit the shit out of this, and you were like, wow, he's kind of like saying like a really interesting point about something. Like, it always feels like this should be a revolutionary movie, but like something about him makes me feel like it's not done.
Yeah.
It wasn't intended, right?
No intentions.
Right. So, but with that said, like, there are some cool things about this film, but I gotta say, man, 2 stars real heavy because, man, there are fucking parts of this movie that drag.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there are scenes where I'm just like, man, where am I? What is going on? Do I even give a shit anymore? Like, it's
Real
just
hackers feeling.
It's not like.
I think we all liked hackers.
Yeah. It's essentially, and for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, it's essentially Boogie Nights, right?
Yeah.
Same similar kind of story, but I feel like that film always like it's back to back to back, like it keeps you entranced throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
This movie, man, it just feels like maybe it's like 3 real good scenes like tied together by a bunch of bullshit and like some cool experimental shit sometimes, but like you don't really ever get a feeling of like your feet are steady and that you're grounded in any way. That's the one thing I'd say. I totally see why this is a cold film. I am very glad that I got to finally see it, but like I said, some negative things are giving this a 3. 3 happenings in my mind.
Why are you pointing to me? Why don't you point at the camera?
No, I'm pointing at you, Kyle.
That's you,
I
Kyle.
want you to
pointing at
see
me.
it when I point and I
You-
make that rating.
You son of a bitch.
Damn it.
I'll go next. I am also at a 3. For the same exact reasons. I think there's points in this movie where it does really lag. But visually, I have a lot of fun with this movie. Oddly enough, like it's cool just to watch people jerk their bodies around and call it dancing.
Dude, I would have killed back then.
Fucking
I'd be
A.
such a good
I would have
dancer.
killed back then.
I'm just like, is that lady okay?
a lot of spinals.
It's real weird. So she's walking and get whiplash. I don't understand. But no, a lot of the same reasons it does drag, but visually, again, this movie is stunning. And like, I'll say this about everyone in this movie: everybody's pretty. Like, there's just a lot of pretty people in this film, which makes it interesting to look at. And that's the one thing.
Nobody thought Lance looked a little weird.
No, he was an intriguing looking person.
I would say Z-Man is the most.
Oh, he had the
Well,
bug
Z-Man's
eyes.
supposed to be the most. You find
He's
out
the
at the end
yeah,
he's
he's
supposed to
the
be the
most
most weird looking, but
ambiguous looking
Yeah.
guy.
I kind of thought he was the most in terms of dudes. Well, maybe Harris.
Harris definitely.
Yeah,
But
I thought,
even
I
Har-
thought Z-Man was kind of.
even Harris has like a baby face.
He does.
And all the women in this movie, they're stunning. They're literally stunning. And for
So
Russ
it's getting
Meyer,
a point for that, or
Yeah.
Definitely.
definitely for Russ.
not
I
shallow.
feel like for a Russ Meyer film though, that's something that you look for, like
Hot
with his
chicks,
films.
bro.
Yeah, hot chicks. It's true.
1 star.
I feel like it is. No, it's fucking 2 of the ones.
Jesus.
2 of the 3 right there.
At least 2.
God damn it, Chris.
At
Too
least
far,
2 stars
Chris
for
shows
that.
up
Yeah,
again.
at least 2 stars.
At least 2 stars.
But no, there's things. The editing, man, is just atrocious in this film. It really is. And there's stuff that comes out of nowhere, and there's weird tonal changes that happen. Like there's literally the scene in the hospital where the doctor comes and tells him that Harris might not walk again. The music in it is straight up from a soap opera, and they play it up, and they play up the whole ham, like how it's just weird. The tonal changes in this film. But yeah, three happenings for me. 3 Mark Wahlbergs. 3 M. Night Shyamalans.
3 funky,
M. Mark
3 funky
Shyamalans.
bunches.
Yeah, 3 funky bunches.
M. Shamalama Burgers.
3 trees. Chris.
All right, I enjoy this movie. I all the way through, I agree. Oh man, there are some parts that drag, and that is probably my biggest criticism about the film is that it's like an hour and 50, and it could easily be an hour and 20 and be probably a better film. So I have to knock it a little bit for that, but overall, visually, super fun to watch, colorful. Some of the shots are creative. It does feel chaotic in the edit I find something interesting about that, although I could see how it'd be also distracting or also annoying. It kind of hits all of these marks. The Russmeyer movies always do have a porny vibe to them. And, this one is, I feel, one of his more mainstream films. And I think it had a higher quality maybe than a lot of the other stuff that he did as far as lighting goes and all this stuff. So it does look like polished. And I do think like there was some interesting things with the dialogue, especially with Z-Man's character. I like when I see amateur acting in some cases, like the fact that you're kind of giving somebody a chance that has never done anything. Granted, I know it's based kind of on physical appearance, probably, especially in a Russ Myers movie. He's definitely known to use, busty, curvy girls. Like that's not a secret. And they're all usually very attractive. So, I like these elements of the film, and I like that he kind of, people find it endearing that he sort of created this world of film. And it's interesting that Roger Ebert was a part of this because we all have our own image of who that guy is. And when you go back and watch this movie, you're like, oh, okay. Like what, this is a different side of Roger Ebert probably. And overall, just pretty much enjoyable. I can't watch it all the time though. So 3.5. Yeah, I say recommend it. I recommend it. Say go see it. It does have a crazy ass motherfucking ending.
Right.
And that is worth one watch at least.
Kyle.
I'm going to come in at a 3. I'm going to agree with a lot of the things that Cody and Mike said. I think this movie is like the incarnation of just chaos. When you watch it, like everything feels just so disjointed and out of place, and it's just thrown at you in such a strange pattern, a strange order that it's really hard to follow. But that chaos also brings with it a high level of energy where you can't help but feel kind of pulled along with it, with that energy into the film. I think the film definitely, like to Chris's point, man, it fucking lacks in the editing room. Like a re-edit on this might clean up some of the story, so we might be able to follow the character arcs that are being created. Because honestly, it feels like it comes from a place of like a writer who is focused on like character development, character-driven piece, but the editing doesn't reflect that. I feel like doesn't reflect the material that was there. But at the same time, man, this movie feels like there's a lot of this. There's parts where it just feels like it came from the school of sitcom, where it's like if there was like a music crescendo anytime something surprising or shocking happened, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, who's behind that door? And it's just like that shit happens so much, and it becomes so fucking laughable in this movie. So I definitely agree. It is a cult film through and through, and I agree it's worth a watch just so that you could say you watch it, and like again, the ending is ridiculous. So, I'm coming in at 3 on this one. 3 Marky Marks.
Marky Marks.
3 happening Marky Marks. 3 happening Marky Marks from Kyle. That's it, guys. That's our show for this week. If you would like us to pick your movie, you got to get it into us. So go to cultfilmandreview.com and put in your request for a film for us to review. And then when you're done with that, head over to iTunes, leave us a review there. And then we will give you a shout out at the end of the show. Make sure you follow us on social media, cultfilm_review on Instagram. Cult Film and Review on Twitter, on Facebook. We are on YouTube. You can follow Kyle at.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
You can follow Chris at.
Cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
You can follow Mike
at Mike Saluccio on Twitter.
And you can follow me at VHS Collect on Snapchat and Instagram. And remember, July 5th, Phoenix Film Bar, hard ticket to Hawaii. Get your tickets where, Chris?
The Film Bar, phx.com.
That's correct. That's our show for this week. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, just make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.